What is going on? I want to welcome you from half court. And today we got to talk about the Kyrie Irving trade because, man, the NBA is going crazy over the last couple of days. Specifically, on Friday, Kyrie Irving just walked into the Brooklyn Nets front office and said, hey, I want out. I'm done. All this talk I've been doing over the last couple of weeks about how I want to build a future in Brooklyn, all this play that I've been doing and rehabilitating my image over the last 2.5 months, getting an all-star starting position in the Eastern Conference, averaging almost 30 points a game, playing some of the best basketball since I was in Cleveland. Yeah, I'm just going to renege all of that. I want out. Send me to LA, please. And what ensued was one of the most unpredictable trades I've seen in a long time, with Kyrie Irving heading into the weekend as a Brooklyn Net and coming out of the weekend as a Dallas Maverick, specifically gearing up to join Luka Doncic in Dallas in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, an unprotected first-round pick in 2029, and multiple second-round picks. First of all, I think this is more of a haul for Kyrie Irving than I expected. I know a lot of people are talking about how the Lakers, fumbled the bag here and then didn't end up with Kyrie. Listen, if this was the package that Dallas offered, there's no world here that the Los Angeles Lakers were going to walk out with Kyrie Irving out of this deal. There's just not. It could have thrown in that second unprotected pick, and it would not have brought the value that getting both Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie gets for the Brooklyn Nets. Because now with Dorian Finney-Smith, you have a legitimate wing that you could put alongside Kevin Durant, a guy that's a perfect player to put alongside a superstar, a guy that Dallas is really bummed that they had to give up in this deal because of the fact that he can guard multiple positions, he can shoot the three, he's a guy that doesn't cause any problems, he's a guy that apparently Kevin Durant loves, and so now is a guy that can come in and play really effective basketball. He's going to be there on a night-to-night basis, but in addition, you have Spencer Dinwiddie as well, a guy that you didn't necessarily want to give up when you did the James Harden trade, a guy that now you can either bring in and potentially be a reliable playmaker and play that point guard position for the Nets, or potentially what they might do, and reportedly there's certain reports suggesting they might take Spencer Dinwiddie and flip that into potentially getting another trade done. It specifically could be getting Fred VanVleet from the Toronto Raptors, or even OG Anunoby as well. So the fact that the Brooklyn Nets are able to get in this position and say, you know what? Screw it. We're done. We're done. We're out of the Kyrie Irving business. And they were able to flip that and turn it into Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, a first-round pick in 2029, which, by the way, could have a lot of value, and we'll talk about that why in just a second. I mean, hey, that's a win for the Brooklyn Nets, and the fact that they could even get even better by Thursday, I don't think they're in a bad situation here, especially now they don't have to deal with Kyrie Irving anymore. Good for them. Now let's talk about the most exciting part about this trade, where immediately NBA Twitter went to, which is Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic have potential to be dangerous together. I mean, these are two guys who can put up 30 points a game on any given night, they're going to combine for 60-plus points a game. They're going to have to if Dallas wants a chance to consistently win games. But these are two magicians with the basketball, two of the greatest ball handlers to ever live, two of the flashiest passers to ever live, two of the smartest playmakers to ever live, now donning the basketball court together. And this is by far the best player that Luka Doncic has ever been able to team up with. And the fact that he was able to get a team with Jalen Brunson and a ton of scrubs to the Western Conference Finals and put up a decent fight against the Golden State Warriors, I mean, that just shows you how incredible Luka is. But now, give him someone as formidable as Kyrie Irving. I mean, on paper, that's going to be tough to beat, especially coming down the stretch where the Western Conference doesn't really look that intimidating. Here's the problem, ladies and gentlemen, and this is a point that I'm going to keep drilling all the time on this channel. Basketball is not played on paper. Basketball is played in between the lines, in between the ears, and in between people. There's human dynamics, there's psychology, there's egos, there's money. There's a lot of different things that go into a successful NBA championship team. And of all of the things that the Dallas Mavericks are going to need to put this together in order to win an NBA championship, a committed Kyrie Irving is at the top of that list. Are they going to get that? There is no way in knowing. If we look at the track record, history over the last 4 to 5 years says no. I mean, the New York Post pointed out the track record the other day on Kyrie Irving. He missed over 130 games for the Brooklyn Nets multiple times, just leaving the team or actively choosing to put himself in a position where he can't participate in games or in activities with the team, whether that's not getting the COVID vax, whether that's leaving the team in the middle of the COVID season and going into a party or going to other functions when he just didn't want to be playing basketball at the time. I mean, this guy's missed multiple months of action, some to injury, perfectly legitimate, but some just out of pure selfishness and just out of pure greed. I mean, the fact that this is a guy who is as talented as he is, but the Brooklyn Nets are so unwilling to give him 4 more years should tell you how difficult it is to be in the Kyrie Irving business. And all we've heard in retrospect out of the Cleveland Cavaliers locker room is the only reason we didn't hear about the Kyrie Irving drama was because LeBron and the crew kept it under wraps. And so now, with this team, with Luka Doncic being a 24, 25-year-old kid, with Jason Kidd, who, granted, has a history of being an NBA champion, who is a great point guard, has not done so as a coach, and in fact, I would argue has botched the Christian Wood situation all season long. I mean, there's no way of telling he's going to be a starter on this team and going to get an extension. There's no way of telling if he's going to get traded by Thursday. Both are very realistic scenarios. And to Christian Wood's knowledge, he quite literally has no clue what's going to happen. He says he talks to Jason Kidd in the front office all the time, and they don't tell him a damn thing about it. So whatever happens there, I have no clue. But if we're just looking at the roster that the Dallas Mavericks have right now, I know we look a lot at what this team could be offensively. And yes, there are shooters up and down the roster. You have 2 threatening players on the isolation in Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And what those guys can do together if they trade on and off is special. But this team has the potential to set defense back almost 50 years. I mean, Dwight Powell is not a bad center, but he's not exactly your modern day rim protecting savant. JaVale McGee is not exactly at a place in his career where he's playing the most dominant ball anymore. And in fact, he's only appeared in about 30 games for them. He really doesn't play for them much anymore. And then, yeah, you have guys up and down the roster. Like, I know you have Josh Green is a guy that they're really high on, and this could potentially get him in the starting lineup. I know you have guys like Maxi Kleber. I know they have decent pieces up and down the roster, but this doesn't scream a championship team. And when you take out a guy as important as Dorian Finney-Smith was on the defensive end, and mind you, this is a team that was already 24th on the in defense in the NBA. When, mind you, Jason Kidd brought defensive intensity, and part of why this team made a run to the Western Conference Finals last year was because of their improvements on the defensive end. Now that they're one of the worst in the league again, now that they bring in Kyrie Irving, who's going to make this team even worse, I think there's a legitimate case to say this team has a strong chance to be 30th in defensive rating down the stretch this season. And if that's the case, they're not getting out of the first round. I don't care who they play in the first round. They're not getting out if they can't play defense. I mean, we talk all the time about how important offense is in this league. And yes, I can't deny that. I mean, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, everything that they did started with their attack on the 3-point line, without a doubt. But the secret to the Golden State Warriors' success, the secret to the Boston Celtics' success, and why they were both in the finals last year, because they were the 2 best teams on the defensive end in the entire NBA. And it wasn't even close. And so going into this season, the fact that we're not really seeing that, that elite defensive team, I mean, yeah, there's a couple teams in the Western Conference who can play defense. And yeah, like, sure, that makes you think, oh, well, like this Dallas team can really light some teams up, which is true. There are some other teams in the West who can sure as hell do that too. Like, when you get to playoff basketball, when you're getting into 7-game series, when things slow down, yes, those guys can go get you a bucket almost better than anyone else in the league. But you need guys who can make stops. You need guys who can make clutch plays. And quite frankly, You need guys who are fully committed onto your outlook and your team long term. And as far as what happens with Kyrie Irving, all reports suggest that the Dallas Mavericks might be okay with the idea of Kyrie Irving being a rental for them this season, which I don't really know about the idea of giving up Dorian Finney-Smith, Spencer Dinwiddie, and an unprotected first-round pick for a rental, especially when people say, oh, well, if Kyrie Irving walks in free agency, well, that just opens up the cap space to go add another player alongside Luka Doncic. But remind me, who's that star free agent who's gone to the Dallas Mavericks over the last 20 years? I mean, DeAndre Jordan did for like a day and a half until he walked that back and went back to the Clippers. But he went back the second time, like when he was like 6 years out of his prime. Outside of that, yeah, Steve Nash played there at one point until they let him walk. Jason Kidd played there in his prime until they let him walk and brought him back towards the end of his career. Really, they did not surround Dirk Nowitzki with the necessary talent to put him in a consistent situation to win championships. And if they're not playing this carefully, if they're not being intentional with the moves that they're making around Luka Doncic, they're in danger to do the exact same thing. And right now with this Kyrie Irving trade, it's pretty damn apparent that they're just making moves and we'll figure it out later. And quite frankly, that hasn't worked out historically. Like, sure, it can help out in the short term, but in 2-3 years from now, when Luka Doncic is toward the end of his extension, what shape is this team going to be in? Because I don't think it's going to be better than where it's at right now. That's for sure. I mean, the more assets they keep giving away, the more people they let walk out of the franchise. I mean, Jalen Brunson, they let walk for nothing. Dorian Finney-Smith, if Kyrie walks, they'll essentially have let walk for nothing. It's time to start really making some serious decisions here in Dallas and really start thinking about the long term here. They better be right about this Kyrie Irving move because, quite frankly, there's a lot of risk surrounding it. What are your thoughts of the Kyrie Irving trade? Do you think that will make the Dallas Mavericks a formidable opponent and a team that could potentially win an NBA championship? Let me know in the comment section down below. But also, do you think the Dallas Mavericks should be extending Kyrie Irving? Definitely let me know what you think about that as well. But also, be sure that you're subscribing to this channel and not missing all the NBA coverage that we have for the trade deadline, the NBA draft, everything coming down the road. And also be sure you go check out Mornings with the Murph, my brand new sports talk show, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, premiering at 10 a.m. But with that, folks, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time from Half Court. Be sure you subscribe.